Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to TradeSetup and the live stream for the 10th of April. Hope we're all doing well. I just want to start off by saying sorry we went on Thursday. I had a late, an organised trip up at Queensland, so I headed up to Queensland from Wednesday through to Friday. I'll come back Saturday morning, so we're getting some work done up there, out of the office up there, but we just didn't quite have the resources to get everything set up on time. So sorry about that if everyone was expecting a stream on Thursday, but we'll make it up today. Also, for anyone that's actually new, if you just see, we'll just go through the usual. You can join us on Twitter, the top left-hand corner, or like us on Facebook, the top right-hand corner address, or just link into us on YouTube down the bottom if you subscribe down there. What that means, and we probably find that's coming useful just the last few days, that will send you a YouTube alert as soon as we press the button to go live. We start streaming, and I know we've just got a couple of issues. If anyone out there is on Apple, using the app on Apple, I think they've done an update of recently, or something's happened, and it's just the push notifications. We're just getting those sorted out now. So sorry about that. If anyone hasn't received those push, so just keep refreshing. We're going continuing as normal. With the alerts and everything, but you may just have to just log in and just refresh every now and then just to see what's come through. So we're getting that sorted out in the next couple of days. How are we all anyway? All doing well? Thanks for your email, Paul. I got that on BHP. I hope you got my email back if you're listening. I might even just take a quick look at BHP today in a minute. What else we got? The US on Friday night, they had the payroll, so that's one of the biggest numbers that everyone watches. Monthly, I think it's the first Friday of every month. They come out with their payroll figures or employment data, and that was a lot less than expected. I think they were expecting somewhere around... Oh, fantastic. Cheers, Paul. We'll have a look at that in a sec then. So they were expecting somewhere around, I think it was 198 new jobs, but they come out with about 90 or so it was a bit less than expected. But I think what it actually did was buoy the market a little bit. There's a few tensions about what's going on with the Tomahawks getting sent from, excuse me, the US bombing of, was it Syria, some base, naval airport base or whatever you call it, out in Syria. So that's that's a bit interesting. So we'll see what goes on there the next week or so, see what comes of that, and whether that's going to bring in a few bit of profit taking, just preemptive profit taking of if any sort of argy-bargy, or what happens with the politics of it all. So it looks like we got, Russia and China backing Syria. So it's sort of like all that love affair between, Putin and Trump has come to an end at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. So let's just take a look at what's happening at the moment. I'll just click onto the charts now. Let's get rid of that. I haven't got my face up there today purely because I just couldn't hook it in. I actually forgot about it until we went to press send. So sorry about that, guys, if you wanted to give me a bit of stick on that. Plus, I haven't done my hair, so it's probably not a bad idea. Let's just take a look. So the market's up 30. We did a bit of a sell-off on Friday, and then we bounced back up into the close. And then that just continued on Friday night when the US, I think the futures were down into their open, showing that the market was going to open a bit weak, and it sort of opened weak and then kicked on up through and pretty much finished break even more than anything else, down slightly, but a point on the futures, I think, on the E-mini. Not much in the Dow, so it was pretty much a break even session. You saw it the other day. It hasn't got any better, Dav. I'm trying to get rid of that grey. It's just not working on the beard. So you've thrown me already. What were we talking about there? Oh, yep. So it'll be interesting to see how we take it. So we're up 34. Yeah, market's pushed up on the open, which you did expect, just with the futures on Friday night just kicking up into the close from where they closed during the day on Friday session. So. So it's quite nice to see that. Now, we'll look at the chart in a minute. It's looking really positive to me anyway. On the ASX, we're looking like if we can get through that 5,900, that's sort of going to be a a nice clear run, potentially up to 6,000, where we've been looking at for a while. I think there's going to be some nice reaction off that level. It's quite a big level too. 59 is not a massive level at the moment. And we're 3 points shy of that. I don't know if we've traded through that today on the highs. Let's just take a look at the chart now. Oh, the highs today, 59.01. So we did. And the recent high before that was all the same. So we've touched the highs from a few days ago, end of last month. So you can see, I like this chart here. It's looking nice. You can see the high lows are holding. We've got that little washout of 5,600. That led to a little rally. Another pullback. Built that high low. Retest down here around the 56.75 that we're speaking about. That's led to another few days of a nice little rally to push through those highs. And that was our original level around 58.30, 58.27. We just want to see it pop up through there. And it was a good sign. It was holding those high lows. And it's still holding high lows here. You can see these last few days. That little rounding bottom. And today it's just led to a push up through, well, to testing 59 at the moment. But that price structure there looks like it's going to just pop its head up and work its way. Just go back down again. Work its way up to 6,000, which you can see is going to be a fairly significant level to get through. But really that, I'll be interested to see how it goes. I do expect, because it's a weekly level too, a bit of reaction off that zone. So it'd be interesting to see, like I think I've mentioned in streams before, if we pop through it and then just start contracting off it, that's a sign, because it's like we washed out, we sort of cleared the way, we'll pull back into the zone, build another high low and then go. But really this daily trend up from the lows down here at 47, it's just been consistent. We've held high lows quite nicely. It's been a nice strong leg up. We're going to get into a potential resistance zone here. We'll see how it reacts. But really this price structure is looking quite good. You've got if you can see far left-hand side of the screen. Yep. So we've had that push up, and that took us up to about 5,000. Spent a lot of time contracted. I know it's a fair few years, but just looking at it in context to what's happening on the ASX. Nice little pullback down to about that 38. Built a high low, and that's led to a new leg up to 6,000, all the way up, holding high lows. And we've had that contraction lower, washed out a few of those high lows through here, around the 51, 52, most recent ones anyway. Then we started holding on a weekly basis to some high lows, which is good, and that's led to that new leg up to where we are at the moment, around 59. So I do expect, with that kind of price structure, that at least a test of 6,000, potentially a push through, but it'd be interesting to see. We've got our eyes on just what happens when we get up there. And that daily structure looks really, really nice too. I expect it to really at least push up through 59. It'd be interesting to see if we close above it today. You know, going into the close, we get a bit of buying just to, kick through that level, or whether we back off a bit from that level just going into the close. But it's looking great at the moment, either way. How's everyone else think about that? What are your thoughts on the ASX? To me, that price structure is nice and bullish, so... And you can see it's had a nice little kick on today. A lot of our alerts that we've been following they've done all right today. We've got API. We'll just go through a few anyway. That looks great. I don't know if anyone's followed that with us, if anyone's actually got it themselves. It's one of the alerts we sent out a while ago with a breakthrough 197, I think it was, just on this candle here. I'm going to put on a bigger chart, sorry. All right, you can see, so we had that with a break just on this candle through 197. You can see that's because we had that little double bottom then, so we've pushed down, popped back up. If it was going to be weak, you'd expect that to lead, a push through that low at 185, I think it was, give or take, 184. And it started working its way off. And this is what you'd like to look for. Pretty much the way we structure our trades, we like to see that. Okay, if we've got full weakness, and that's that. Don't forget we've had that little leg up there, up to 210. So we're either viewing this as contraction off the highs to bring in some more buying. So that's the premise basically for the trade longer term. Or if we don't know where that's going to be, but when you've got this little sign here, you've got a double bottom, so it's worked its way off, had a bit of a pullback, and then you built that little higher low at 190 or say 189. And then basically for confirmation that's going to be a high low, you just want to break through those highs, and that was around that 197. We probably got on a little bit late there through 197. But nice confirmation on that candle. The market's just headed up. But that weekly chart's the one that looks really nice. The daily looks great. If you click it down to a weekly, you can see it's had a good strong move up, bit of contraction, took out the highs to new highs, but spent a lot of time through last year holding high lows, working its way up, and it's just recently got up through 210. I think that was actually, well, that was the last couple of days. So that for me is a really nice big move. Yeah, that's true. Just saw your comment there, Paul. So that's great there. What we're looking for now, I don't mind taking a bit of profit because this looks like if it extends into 220, I might see just a reaction off there. We may hold another high low, but just considering everything that's going on, it's good to take a bit of a partial exit up there. Books, I mean, I think that will give us, just got to check, about 11% gain on that first half, potentially, first part of the alert, which is very handy, and then just see what happens from here. But I think it should have some really good legs just from the weekly. That could really extend. That's a beautiful, nice looking base. I guess if you've been following us for a while, you know that's what we like to see, that rounding base, and then you start getting acceleration. So we're sort of at that stage now where the buyers really take control. Here you've got a bit of selling that's come in, but it's been held up. Any sort of selling has been soaked up by those buyers and leading to a little break through the highs, but not significant. Sooner or later, you can see this high low just recently around 185 is it's a lot more significant because it's more of a shallow pullback. So the sellers are really starting to run out of steam here, and the buyers are really starting to take control, just sort of in this zone in here. And you can see with that pop up through, we do expect a bit more of an acceleration. So it'd be nice to see if we can accelerate up and through 220, blow out that level, and then that's going to really, anyone that's missed the boat, potentially as a buyer, they may start looking for any minor opportunity to start jumping in and really start accelerating higher. And you'd find that probably the sellers would be a bit more scarce there anyway. But that looks great. What else? We'll just go through some of the other alerts that are kicking off nicely. S32, going great. Very similar sort of price structure there. Just get that in a bigger chart. You can see, it doesn't really matter the weekly, but you can see it's had a nice strong leg up. Some lower highs, led to some lower lows, but that started getting held up pretty much through March. Holding those high lows, structure was looking really good and just started accelerating the start of this month, accelerating higher. So if you just look at this most recent price action, it's starting to look really good. That big rejection candle, I think that was on Friday. So we got it through, I always forget my entry prices there. Just bear with me at SC2, 275. So it was way back here. So I didn't mind this once we pushed down. We popped straight up with this big leg up here, taking out the most recent lower high, just above 270. And we had a pullback. So for me, I was really just front running. That was going to be a bit of a push up through this high. Took a bit of time, but that looks really, really nice, that price structure. And I expect that to push up and through $3. And we're looking for a partial around 303, I think. Be nice if we can get that today into the close. That just spikes up into the close. Take a partial on that and then just watch the rest of it. But that price action looks great. Any questions there just on that one there? I'm trying to think anything else that's kicked on. SSM's a bit of a bugger today. That you can see that was looking good on the open. It opened up quite strong and then just tipped over. So it's just been the last few, probably half an hour or so. It's really just toppled over a bit. So that looks like we'll just have to see how that goes. It's still holding this high low. That's a key level just below, say it was about 111 or thereabouts. Never know, could get tagged today. We'll just see how it goes. It's not looking too healthy just at this time. All right. What I'm going to do today, I haven't got any of the currency charts. I'll miss the actual, if anyone's following them, the weekly Forex review. We're going to start doing, we did it 2 weeks and missed the third week, but that was on the Wednesday last week. Again, like I said, just didn't have the ability to put it together quick enough. We had a fair bit of work to try and get through, so hence why I was up in Queensland, but we'll get that through this week. So I'm just going to go through the charts again, just see where we stand with a lot of these currencies, whether we see that there's potential for, the sellers are stacked up in a bit of a short squeeze or vice versa with a long squeeze where the buyers are setting up. So we just want to check that and then go and check it with the structure and see what the price structure is telling us, where there is a potential for a short squeeze or a long squeeze. And then we'll put it together. We'll put out the video on Wednesday. A bit of a spill there. So just keep an eye out for that, guys. If you do have anything you want to look at with that, with regards to FX, just send us through some emails to support@tradesetup.com.au, and then we'll get into that. So what I'm going to go through today, I just want to talk more about what we look for. I know there's a lot of people that, a lot of you guys have been following us for a while, whether you're live on the stream or whether you follow us just later on and just have a bit of a look through what we've recorded. But we've got it's not really a unique way of looking at it, but we look at our price structure. We're big into price structure and what we're actually seeing on the chart and what the psychological levels are behind it. So we like to build that picture. And if you've been following us, you'll know what we look for a lot. But I think it's worth just going through a couple of different things, different scenarios. And there's a few that I've noticed today. I just want to go through. They may or may not be alerts. There's one we've had quite a bit in the past and we've done really well on. I think the most recent trade we had on that was that with this push up here. We made a little bit, but that in essence just was starting to struggle. It looked good for a bit there, for continuation higher, but then we built that major lower high. So we had two scenarios playing out that we were concerned about. Obviously not one that we're concerned about, the two that were possible, that we're going to build that lower high. So we're really on our guard on that stage. And then that rollover, which eventually did play out, or the second scenario is really just continuation. That means it put us in good stead, get up through that 570, and on she goes. That would have been great, but we've done well on this sort of move up through here. What we're looking at now, what I reckon is great to talk about, and I want to just mark it up on a chart, is more to do with what we're seeing in here and what we've talked about a lot in the past. So what we're always looking for, and what we've mentioned a lot, is we want price. We don't want to get in too late into a trend. I mean, there's always times when you can get in late and you can do all right, but I tend to steer clear of things that look like they're going to be late into the cycle. So you're always looking for the potential for a new leg up. So we said before, you want to get in where the outcome is unknown. Okay, so you're getting that contraction down. You want to try and buy when it's unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. This could be a major lower high again. So we've got a high here, got a major lower high, another potential zone where it could go into major lower high, and that could roll over and take out these lows. So we're in the unknown. But when you've got a trend, say if you look back here, that's more of the known. People can see it. It's quite clear. The market's up. MAs are up. You're just basically trend following there and you're just looking for a bit of a pullback and an entry confirmation and away you go. But when you get these, what we call complex corrections, potentially what we're looking for when we see that is you've got a nice leg up. So on the longer term, and then you've got to contract that leg. We've got to get some profit taking. Profit taking comes in. Then we want to see where it's starting to hold up on the other side. And potentially what we're seeing here just on BWX is just that happening. And it's a good one just to chat about. So if you've got any questions just as we're going through some of these stocks, just shoot them into chat, and then we'll go through them. Just if there's something that you're questioning, why would you do that, or why didn't you do that, or what we're actually looking for. All right. So when we got a nice complex correction, that to us is telling us what we want to see is a high-low build, and potentially when you got that nice complex correction, it's just pushing out some of the buyers, putting them back on the sidelines for a bit of energy for a new move higher. So what we're looking for is that you got leg up one, that's a correction of that major leg up, and then we're potentially looking for the start of a new leg up. All right, and we're looking to enter in the unknown for a nice move higher. Yeah, we'll look at that in a minute. QBE. So with this, we'll just quickly mark that up. So it's just this is just the way we go through, I guess, analysing everything. So if you can sort of get into these habits, techniques, if you're looking at price action and price structure, I think it's very much worthwhile. So that's our first leg up, and we've got these, lower highs. We've got the correction, and it's looking like, so the key level is really up here at the moment on the weekly basis. But what we're getting here is some nice little higher lows. And I'd ideally like to have seen on a longer term basis a push up through 520. I think that's your key level, which means that this contraction lower is starting to run out of steam. But the way this has just been grinding higher, there hasn't been any selling that hasn't been bought up. So we can see here it's quite solid selling. It grinded higher a bit. So this higher lows, higher highs, as this leg was just kicking up a bit. I guess then we got that major lower high, and you can see the reaction after that was quite heavy selling. And we got a zone just through here. It's probably between about 4:30 where buyers were starting to step in. So that was, and a lot of times you can sort of work off that second leg down when you're looking for where is that potentially where is that contraction zone going to finish, and we're going to start going into expansion again. And so you got the leg one, push back up, lower high build, another leg out to take out that another leg lower to take out that major high low. Took that out, built a little base in here. We still haven't got, like I said, that's your key level just at that moment around that 520. But what we're seeing here is that we're holding high lows. Okay, you can see a high low here, potentially another high low. So this is what really interests me just here. Why I like it is because we're getting a bit of contraction, and contraction I mean lower highs and higher lows. The price is coming into a point. So this could be, and you can also see if you just analyze it one step further, you can see these, why we use stochastic. The market's actually kicked lower. It's pushing lower, but it's getting held up. So any of that sort of pressure on the downside with sellers, so that's to me is more of a gauge of pressure. Pressure by buyers, pressure by sellers, who's sort of winning in that tussle or who's winning the battle. You can see the sellers are stepping in, but price is not reflecting that, as in it could have potentially here as sellers stepped in. The price actually went lower. It wasn't really getting held up, but that's getting soaked up here. So that's a nice little sign where potentially we're going to push up through $5. And that, to me, is a nice little front run, if that makes sense. So we're front running a break of 520, which is a key level, which could take us up and through 570, for example. So you know you've got a key level up at 520, and there's going to be a few of these longer term buyers who potentially have got a buy on stop up here or want to see that break up through here, happy to buy it, put their stop all the way down here. You know, longer term traders, we don't know why they're trading it. And we're trying to front run in those levels. So we're going to get confirmation if it pushes up through $5. We've got a little high low. We can put our risk below here, but we're going with that price structure. Does that make sense there, guys? So it's just trying to build a nice picture. So what I guess the premise for this trade is that we are looking to come out of contraction into expansion on the other side. Maybe a bit early, we may just pop up through here, retest 520 and be a major lower high, but then at least we've got something up our sleeve to reassess as we go, or we're getting in well and truly in the unknown. If we get a push up through 520 and it starts accelerating, and then we retest the highs, we've got a nice little trade on our up our sleeve there, and it could really do quite well. So the risk is obviously when you get into the unknown, is getting proven wrong, but the payouts are quite good. You're not waiting for more confirmation when everyone else can see what's happening on the chart. Everyone else is jumping in, and potentially you start jumping in a bit late there. So we're just trying to, like I said, build that picture, understand what's happening with the price structure, and trying to get in as early as possible where we've got more confirmation. Well, we've got confirmation that price structure is really starting to play out in our favour. Hope that makes sense. We've got another one here. We'll look at, I think it's slightly different, New Farm. I saw this just today. Now this, going to the weekly, is more of a confirmation. Continuation trade here. The weekly looks really great. We're going to come up with a bit of resistance up towards 13. And you can see that this is back to the monthly. So just sort of picking out some major levels where we might come up to a bit of reaction. We expect a bit of action at that level, whether it's action, whether it's going to push lower or it's going to pop up through and just take out that resistance level and continue on. We don't know what's going to happen, but we just want to know what levels we're approaching, whether a major, minor, or what's happening there. So we've got potentially a major one up around that $12 mark, just below 10. So really that leg, you've got a nice base that's fallen through here. You can see nice sort of around that 3 to 325, where we double tapped that, pushed up, took out the lower high just here with this move up here. Pushed back down, we tried to retest it, but we've really just made that major high low. Then we continued on up, pushed through this lower high just in here. You can see it's just above 6, so that's really starting to push higher. All right, and then we've got another major high low here around 620 to 50. You can see it touched on there a few times, and that's produced this little leg up here. So what we're trying to do here is just trying to find out where it's going to, because we've got this leg here we're concerned about now. So we could be potentially getting on a bit late if you're looking for a buy. With regards to the weekly chart, we could be getting in a bit late to the action here. So this is a bit different to what we just said about before. So we've got that leg up on the daily. it pretty much starts right down here around that 630, I think it is, 630. So this is slightly different to what we just mentioned with BWX. With BWX is potentially we're just coming out of contraction and we're looking for expansion. This one here is more of, you'd expect more of a continuation trade more than anything else. Just draw that up. So we've got a key level right down here. Say it's around 5. What do we got there? That is 530, I think, isn't it? Yep. Oh, sorry, 630. 640. So we've got a little support zone. So that's produced this leg up here. You can pull back, some high lows in here, and that's just, it just keeps creeping up with higher lows, higher highs as we go up. And you can see this is the key level just now at the moment. We're just starting to get through. If we just draw that out. But we're still, just the whole time we've been holding some high lows. All right, so this is a continuation trade. May or may not be concerned that we're starting, because it's had quite a good leg up, and that's right back from the start of 2016, over a year now. It's been holding those high lows and just working its way higher. But there's no reason why you can't, this couldn't be a potential trade. Minor risk, you can assess your risk on this one. You just want to see, if we go back down to, this was the daily, just make that a bit smaller. This is what's interesting us at the moment. So if we just go back to what we drew up, so we can see all these higher lows are holding. So we're slowly building our picture, and we've just got this little run up through that high around 970, a contraction back into that zone. So what we're looking for is a continuation pattern. We're just looking for that little trade where we can assess our risk quite easily. We can see a potential, if we get confirmation, a break through a certain level. Is that going to give us confirmation where we can assess our risk and we can put our risk just below a higher low? And so we're always looking for a little higher low. And potentially I think that's what we're starting to see just now. And you can see this contraction back in, just remembering that, what was the level? About 970. So we've got a resistance zone through 970. It's popped its head up. It's been rejected through there. It's built that little lower high. So we're looking for buyers to start stepping in. Somewhere where buyers are starting to step in. I think we're just starting to get that now. So if we get a push up through, say, 965, 66, this little high here, we can see that rejection. Nice rejection through a nice strong candle down, was rejected, finished on its highs. Bit more rejection through here. A down day was just rejected into the close. And then we got today is just a bit of an up day. So we've really got that high-low building with a little move down to, say, 945. So if we get up through this high at 966, nice little confirmation that we're going to push out of this contraction low and start continuing higher. But like I said, it's slightly different in the fact that we could potentially be towards the end of a trend higher on the daily. So there could be, room for a major contraction, or where we get a major lower high. So you've just got to be remembering what sort of longer term price structure you're up against. Does that make sense there, guys? And what we're looking for. And so you've just got to, like I said, just keep in the back of your mind what's happening on the weekly and the daily chart. What sort of, what bias you should bring into the market. What's the overall feel, and what are you trading? Are you trading continuation? You're trading potentially in the unknown, like we just mentioned before, off a major contraction. So you're looking for a potential major leg higher, or are you at the end of a major leg high and you're expecting that contraction more major? Because then you can just get caught, especially if you don't use stops. That's why I always like to be able to find a level where I've got to be proven wrong. So for instance, if I end up getting in this one through 965, I'm happy to take it back out. You get that pop up, say it trades, even if you have a 970 buy entry, you buy on stop through here, that's potentially taken out of that little minor contraction. From the overall price structure, that's just popped up through a level at 970. You're buying it on the way back up. So you should, if you're right, that should keep going from there. It really should attack that $9.95, even $10, and it could work its way up to, that's not what I want. Let's just close that. Work its way up, through 10. I think it was $12 thereabouts where we had that major level. Let me just get a better fit on this. Yeah, up towards 12. So this could be a nice little entry point where it could, we've got minimal risk, but we could potentially be targeting up towards that 12, even 11 if you just took it around that 11 mark. So that's a good risk reward on that. It's actually a fantastic little risk reward on that, especially if your risk is, say, 30 cents lower. And you're getting a dollar, $1.20, 30 return, $1.30 return off 970. So it's could be a good little area to buy, or we could just be fine that that's a bit of a washout. You get another lower high in here, but there you're not risking too much. You potentially, if you see the signs, you might just take it off, but you always want to find that high low to work off and just see if it can kick on up. Yeah, and like Davin said, you can see this type of scenario. You know that's a bit of contraction. You're looking for that move out of contraction. You can see the MAs, and what we look for quite a bit is where they contract in on each other. And you're getting this little pop-up through here. The MA is starting to spread a bit more. That's coming back. They're coming back in. And then it's pushing up. But the MAs, what we're here, we're just finding that it's just sitting on top of that, what do I use, a 20 MA there, EMA. So when you get that type of thing with the price action, you've got your little entry, it's just sitting above. So it's a good little sign that that's going to start spreading. The MA is going to start spreading again. You know you're in expansion, and it's just going to kick its way up through 10. So it looks good. But you can see, can people see what I'm talking about with the slightly different scenario? We've got one other here, I think. Just want to see if it's any different. Okay, AMA. I just want to quickly go over this one as well, and then we'll get into what we're talking about, Leonardo with QBE, and then anyone else wants to chuck in a chart, something to look at, we'll jump in it. But just continuing that theme with analysing. So we've mentioned it a lot before. This is why it's good just to really analyse the charts. You know, prep the chart. If you see something, it shouldn't take you too long. You should be able to glance at a chart and just go, well, hang on a second, you just flick through maybe a weekly, go down to a daily, just to find your major levels and get that idea. Are we expanding on a weekly? Okay, we'll go down to a daily for a potential entry level. Or are we starting to look like we're building a lower high? We're contracting on the weekly. That means you just want to go down to your daily chart just to get your entries. But just being able to put everything into context so you know what type of scenario you're trading. There's no reason you can't have a weekly contraction and actually buy it, still make a bit of money, but you just got to keep it in the back of your head. What's actually happening on the weekly basis too, just the longer term time frames. Everything's pointing in the same direction. Okay, you're really just looking for an entry setup. So yeah, planning out a trade and just getting an idea of what's happening is always good. So this one here is AMA Group. Don't know if anyone's traded this before. We've had a few dips at this and done quite well. I think one was actually in here. And you can see that you can see contracting lower. We've had that big push up, which took out the most recent lower high. Contraction lower built a major high low here. So when you're getting a high low just like this, a continuation pattern, you know that as odds are that's going to really kick up and take out the most recent high, which it did. It only mildly through 110. Then we started getting contraction again, but we're still holding higher lows, which I really like. Let's just draw that up. Alrighty. So the first thing, you should be able to glance at it and just see, just from the data, even if you don't, you can't go back a chart. I should just quickly go back. Okay, the weekly, that's pretty clear cut. Things are happening on there. The market's pushing higher, and especially in this last year and a half, it's still holding higher lows. So you can look at that and go, okay, it's holding higher lows. I know the context is up, the bias is up. What's happening from there? So then just drilling down and seeing what's happening on the daily basis, which we're just going to draw up now. So in the back of your head, okay, the weekly's on your side if you're looking to buy it. So you're really just trying to break it down to see what's happening, where I could potentially buy it, and also what I think we've mentioned a few times. It's also good just to see what type of price actions happened in the past. So, if you're up here and you're looking for a buy entry, you think it's going to slam through 110 and just really explode higher. You look at it before and you can see that it doesn't really take out the highs a lot. Oh, sorry, it's probably not the best way. Say you're looking at this type of price structure, and just in here you're looking for a buy on stop, just through 110, you go, oh, okay, it's a good little level up here, but it doesn't break through that high very significantly. It has a good pullback, a deep pullback, but it's still holding that longer term trend higher. So just trying to get a feel for what happened in the past. Is that going to recur? That type of, so you've got something to reference, type of price structure to reference, I guess, because every just remembering every stock may trade slightly differently, have its differences, and what am I trying to say? Nuances. That's a big word for me, even though you spell it quite short. But every trade, every stock has got its little nuances. So they may trade with that same price action where some might just build for a little bit, build the high low, then they explode higher. So ideally they're the ones you're going to get really good risk reward on. They're going to go on with it. So when you're proven right, you're proven right pretty quickly. But some of these other ones, you've just got to be wary where, okay, we're going to break through the high. And in the past, it's had a good correction through. So maybe don't buy it when it's just breaking through that high. Wait for it to build a major high low, which just say through this zone here. And that would lead to a potential, a good leg up. So you're getting it in a good zone. But what we're seeing here with this, you can see that trend's higher. Longer term, it's holding higher lows. Even if we draw another line, say up through here, that's probably a bit clearer. You got that spike through that support zone, but it really is starting to hold some high lows. It's showing the goods, and what we're noticing here, you can see that price is contracting, holding higher lows, got some lower highs also. So really, what we would be looking for here is just some stage to buy into when we got price going from that contraction to expansion. So potentially it could be just through 107 and a half. And then you know where your risk is going to be, just below this higher low in here, say somewhere around $1. But the only thing, like I said, is what we've seen in the past. We've got that little push up through that high. So we've got another high to contend with around 115. So we could just pop through 115, say 116 or 17. Gives you 10 cents. It's just over 1 to 1 if that's the case, or we don't know if this is going to be the time when it's going to explode higher. So you really just got to, what price action, what's happened in the past, putting together your trade. Okay, is that a risk? Is a risk reward something you're actually happy with? And then you either take the trade or you don't. It's as simple as that. But you know that what you're analysing, it's showing higher lows. The probability or the bias is pushing higher. Probability is there. The bias is there. Everything's on your side. You're just looking for the setup. And now it's up to each individual trader what they're looking for and what their risk tolerance is. Is this worthwhile? A trade taking? But you can just see the difference in this price action as compared to the last two we looked at. The selling is coming in with it. Pop through the highs. It's come back and it's been quite a deep correction. So you're just taking that compared to was it BWX and New Farm? New Farm is a bit similar. BWX, I think, has got the potential to really kick on, but even then, it's not a savage spike high. Like, just trying to think of one off the top of my head. Dave, you might have one that that you can see where it's gone on with it and it's really just accelerated higher. Oh, what else we got? APIs, probably not. Yeah, that's accelerated high, but there's been some others. Anyway. I guess you can understand what we're actually talking about with the price structure there. Any questions there, guys? We'll have a sip of coffee, and then we'll open it up a bit and just put in some trades if you like. AGL. This would be a good... I was going to see if Davin knows what I'm talking about. Well, there you go. So you can see that type of acceleration hard. When you get that, you can pretty much hit your 1 to 1, 2 to 1 quite quickly. And you know what your risk is. You can know it from the high low. You know what you're doing there. Even that, look at that chart. Look at the type of vertical move that's getting there. That looks good. Well, I probably wouldn't buy it just yet, but you can see it's been extended up there. But this is a great example of why you would never solely go, okay, the price structure looks great. That price action looks good. Say here, with this little breakthrough here, let's push up through 21. It was overbought there. You don't go, okay, I'll just leave it. There's going to be times where, the price structure looks great. The market's going to be extended to the upside, but it just stays there. It just hovers around overbought, and you can see where it went from 21 up to 28. It's $7. That's that's what, if I'm right, 4%, 40%, 40%, 30-40% gain. So, you've just got to take it. These are indicators, and they're called indicators for a reason. It's just to give you an idea of what to expect. So maybe just with this type of thing, just be on your guard that it could be extended. but then don't take it off for the fact that it's overextended. You just let it go, see what happens. So if you're going to take a trade, let's just look at it on the daily, where it's spent a lot of time in overbought on the weekly, the daily is actually showing something different. It pulls back and it pops through. So you could have, an entry just in here, say November sometime, which led to a nice little gain through 20, potentially just in here. So there's not one of those times when if you bought it off a daily entry where it's actually put you under pressure. So anyway, any questions there, guys? I'll start the ramble. Seek. I just want to quickly look at Seek because this is one. Just want to go over this one quickly. This is one where I actually, at one stage, I was looking at it for a short. And this is the beauty of waiting for a setup. If you don't get the setup, you don't take it. You don't think, it looks short and just jump in. You really got to wait for your setup. And then sometimes they just don't come. Like this one, for instance, I was potentially thinking that was going to short somewhere around here. It didn't play out for me on the daily basis. It didn't quite give me that setup when I was looking at it. Ended up just giving up. I just popped it onto a chart the other day, and that weekly, that looks nice. You've got that leg up here, contraction, a strong leg up, and it's fine. And then you can see that starting to get extended, especially by that vertical move up. Spent a lot of time consolidating, but it didn't really have a good correction. It's just popped up through the highs, and that's where it started falling from there. And at this stage here, I was potentially looking at it's going to be a major lower high. We could potentially push back down to go through 1150, and this could be on, as a short if we can get something up there. It just didn't play out that way. And we'll just draw it up quickly. On the weekly chart, you can see, I think that sort of trend is holding that. You can see why. It's still holding that trend. It just touched down, and really you flip it over and you go, well, what's happening now? On that weekly, it actually looks quite good. This is holding a major high low, so you can see price is squeezing in. It's still contracting probably on the weekly basis, but it actually looks good. I kind of like this one now. What I'll be doing, and it's getting a bit extended on the weekly, doesn't mean it can't push up and through, but after it's come off and started to hold some high lows in here, that's a nice sign that this is, okay, it's rolling over. You got this little low here, double top, just to, through 17, it pushed through the low, but it's starting to hold some higher lows again. So if you get into the daily just to see what's happening, it's looking nice. There could be a nice potential. I wouldn't mind seeing this just pop its head up above, say on a weekly basis, pop its head up here, and then contract back in and look for a daily entry. Because as soon as you get that, that's a nice little sign that even if we just retest up towards 17, contract off there, or react off that zone, and then look for another high low on the daily. So just dropping it down a time frame and then looking from there. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone's just saw what Davin put up through there. It's got trading before a predefined setup occurs is what many traders do wrong. So that's sort of the last step, and it should always be your last step, just looking for that setup. So you've got, you don't want to front run, say you bought it here, front running, or you just bought it thinking, it's going to break out of contraction, and then you just roll over and it ends up taking through 14 and it goes all the way back down again. You don't know what's going to happen. I won't read his next comment out. But yeah, trying to front run things like that is probably where your stats started getting skewed to the downside. So what you're looking for is when you get that confirmation. So on this weekly, if we're trading pure and simply off this weekly, I want to see it pop up, and then I'm going to look for my entry setup. All right, so we get that, and then potentially you get something. Ideally we'll get something like this. You go push up, pull back, a higher low on a minor scale, and then you've got your entry, because you know that we're starting to show buyers are taking control. It's pushed up to 17. We've reacted off 17, and then you're going to get. Then you look for your setup, and it'd be ideal if we see something like that. That would be beautiful, because then you know that, okay, we've got this sort of setup, and it could lead to a nice leg up and through 19. That price action is looking great. You've got a leg up here, contraction on the major basis, on the weekly basis, and it could lead. We could be in the right spot for a nice prolonged leg up, if that's the case. All right, let's have a quick look. So I just wanted to finish up on that. Any questions there, guys, before we get into it? We're going to start off with QBE. All right, so what do we got here? So this looks interesting on QBE. And the reason this looks interesting because we popped up through, if you just look at it just quickly. So we should, and this is the aim, I guess, just have a bit of a glance at something and go, does that perk in my interest? Do I need to go back a chart just to see more time, I guess a bit more data just to see what's going on. But just looking at this, we know from left to right, from what we've got to work, from what data we're looking at, it's pushed down, pop back up. Okay, you've got a little, it's just washed out a few of these minor lower highs to, 1240. Push back down. We just washed out this low, but it's not convincing. And then we've pushed all the way back up and just taken out this lower high. So on a major basis, we might have found, okay, we've got a little level here through, say, around 920, 940, a zone where it's being rejected. Buyers are stepping in and they pushed it all the way through a major lower high. And then we spent a lot of time just consolidating through here. Yeah, we're on a daily. So for me, that's perking some interest. I'm not really confident on taking a trade with a push up through 13 because it could be a bit premature and then you pop up through and then it rolls over. I'd rather see a good correction, a bit of a washout of some lows and then go and just look for my entry. But on the weekly, yeah, see that weekly still, with this move down to 950, it's just popped out through the low. On the weekly, we've still got a major level at 15 to contend with. And it's only been grinding lower. So you had that push low, a pop back up. We've got a lower high at 1750. It's pushed down. It's popped back up. Couldn't get through those lows. Pushed back up to 15. And then it's gone through these recent lows. Held up here. So we could just as easily roll over from here. So any sort of buy with a push-up, say, through 13 could be knocked down quite quickly. Where you can see this one here, just spiked up through the highs and then got knocked back down. And if you bought it, a break through the highs, you're sort of sitting on your hands for a while. It's looking okay. It's still holding higher lows, but this is not convincing price action to me. Does that make sense? I would ideally just look for, I would like to see, the daily looks great there, but it's just this weekly chart you've got to contend with. This is a key just at the moment where it's just popped up through 12. So really, there could be, how do we see? Well, it hasn't really happened, to be honest. We could pop up here, but this could just be another lower high on the weekly basis, and then that could take us down. It may not take us through it could take us through $9. Not a major wash out of those lows, but from 13 down to 9, you don't want to really be holding something there if you buy it there. If you do buy it, potentially with that little push up, say through 13, this little high, 13.08, my stop would have to be just below this minor higher low because I don't want to risk too much if I'm wrong. But if I'm right, I potentially this could just grind higher. With regards to the weekly, grind higher and retest up to 15. So, okay, in that respect, really nice. But if it is a lower high, yeah, I think that's going to grind lower. And that's why I find stops are very important. So, I think at the moment, the weekly is sort of showing it's rolling. It's a good spot to roll over, I guess. To roll over, this could be another lower high, but the daily is actually showing a couple of good signs as well. So, you got one fighting against the other. I'd rather just step aside and look for something else. SkyTem. So what do we got? AHY. Is that? Yeah, see that looks quite nice. Again, that weekly could just be a major washout. I don't know what happened there. I think we spoke about this just recently, didn't we? Staying above 1.7. So this most recent price action looks really good. Even on the weekly, if we just quickly draw that up and why it looks good. Oh, I don't want that, do I? Just back to that. If there's anything else, guys, just whack it in now. Whack it in the chat if there's anything else you want to quickly look at. What's on the radar there, Paul? You got anything on the radar? So you can see this. It's pushed down, lower high, washed out this low. Didn't do too much. Again, it's pretty much retested that low. We've got a big move up, then it's just gone bang. I don't know what's happened, just belted it through. But really, it hasn't got too far through this most recent low. But then it's reacted back off. So if this weakness continue, Yeah, oh, that's right, BHP. I'll put that up as well. If this weakness was going to continue after this big solid move down, I mean, that's such a major move down. You know, there's been a lot of people who have bought it, a lot of buyers washed out, a lot of people on the sidelines again. So what you would have expected here was that to just continue, you know, with lower highs, bang, and just push down through that low at, say, $1.25. But instead, what we've seen is a push back up and then start to hold. You got a little minor lower high here, you can see that, and then it's washed out this low. But in context, this is the key one on the longer term, on the weekly. So on the daily, it's just starting, you can see that buyers are stepping in, okay, through here. And that's good just to keep it in context of what's happening. And we know, so what this could be in context of this weekly chart is a major higher low. So we've got that in the back of our minds. What are we looking for now? Okay, we're looking for somewhere at the other end where it's going to start holding a high low on a weekly chart and then pop up through this high, which we got. Okay, so if we go down to a daily and just have a quick look at it. I know it's gap down here, but that buyers are stepping in. So with this gap down, it's a lot of buyers have been just smashed and been, especially someone who bought it up through, you know, $1.10, and all of a sudden they're just bailing, heading for the doors. So a lot of buying's been washed out of that market. A lot of people put on the sidelines. So if that's the case, we know that because we've got that high low starting to build and it's really starting to hold up. And then you've got a couple of strong days here, a pullback, and it's got a major high low. So if we just go back to our, and this is what we like to see. Just draw that. Oh, bugger. What happened there? So what we've got is that push up through here, holding that high low. Our major supports down here, high low. Then we've got this little, and this is the first sign. Well, you could have bought it through there. $1.50 in hindsight would have been great, because we've got that structure. And as soon as we start holding that, the fact that we're going to hold that is confirmed with the push up through $1.50. But we're still at that stage. We're still going to contend with that high, this high up here. We smash through that. We've pulled back and we're potentially just building another high low, and that we've got that washout there, so that would have been a nice time, you know, potentially to buy through. Was it 167? And I think I'm not sure where you got it through. You're on this, I think, aren't you, SkyTam? You're on through around 170 or something, aren't you? But that looks, so when you got that nice little washout here through 157, then bang straight back up. And then that is going to be a high low in context of what's just happened previously. So again, we're building that picture, and that's the most important thing. So you just it's like putting together the pieces of the puzzle. And that there, you've got that move down, a major high low. That's been confirmed because you busted up through that $1.50, was it 65? Then we pull back, which we like to see. That's that cup and handle we've talked about in the past. Holding another high low on the daily basis, and then I think that if that's the case, we're going to get, that's the one leg up. If we can extrapolate that, what's that, 135 up to 180. What have we got there? 45 cents from, say, 155. $62. So that could potentially take us up through. So we could, just projecting that out, somewhere around $2. So there could be a bit in this, even though we could still hold below this high up here. So really, that could be a gap fill. You know, the gap fill is right up around 210, but all that sort of coincides. So just keep an eye on that one. That looks really nice though. 167, that's great. I'd just be following this up and see what happens from here. That'd be great. I think this could get up through, it's so close to that high at 180, it could just explode through there and really start to accelerate. And you get a couple of strong days like this, accelerate through those highs. It could take you all the way to 2. Then you've got a handy little trade on there. And then just see what you can do. Take some off, see what happens from there. Anne-Marie, how you going? Hope you're doing well. Lining up the ducks. You and ducks, just because you're near a pond, Devon. Going through BAP, yeah. Yeah, true. How you doing, Anne-Marie, anyway? We'll get up BAP. Yeah, BAP is with something in. It's this move through 570, but I think we'll have to see how it plays out. I mean, that's a valid entry. Let's just draw it up. I could actually probably see a problem here. And we're all prone to little problems. Let's just have a quick look. There's a few things I like about this one. So I think we bought it through 570. Let's just check on that. BAP 574. Yeah, just through that high we bought it on this little. Haven't been right since. So it's just drifted low. We've got our stop around 550 at the moment. So if it gets through 550, it's taken out that higher low, and then we know something's going on there I don't quite like. I'd rather be out and reassess it. You can always jump back in if you have to. You might have to give up a bit, but it's better that than holding something without stops and just going, okay, I'll put my stop below here, 520, and that's a major lower high. It takes out 520. You've got quite a bit of risk on that one. And then it trades down to 490. You go, okay, well, maybe if it gets through 490, I'm wrong. I'll take myself out, and that's why I like hard stops. I don't particularly like putting in. I know what I do. I know where my psychology works anyway. I know what I do wrong. So to combat that, I always like to put it in as tight as possible. So this one here, if I'm confirmed wrong, there's something wrong if it pushes through 550. You got a lower high come into play, but around that 590, it couldn't quite get up to this one here. And it could be rolling over, it could be attacking here, or it could just be squeezing in. So let's just take all that out and draw out what's happening here, even just from this low. So you can see price. Okay, so it's showing early signs that it's just breaking to the top side out of contraction. That there, in hindsight, was a bit preemptive. Okay, so that's probably the one thing I didn't like about that. Yeah, it's great. Yep, no, you're exactly right. A bit of a wrong entry there, but in essence, what I'd like to see is if this can hold up. And it's got a good sign. You can see it's getting extended to the downside. It's still getting held up. It's still getting soaked up. So, I mean, if it gets through there, I expect it to be held up around 540, because I got that little spike up through here, towards that 590 mark. So that's your early sign. It doesn't mean that we're expanding higher. What it could mean is that we're coming out of contraction. So whether it's going to come out of contraction and just start consolidating, and we could spend a lot of time banging between 590 and 550 if we don't get stopped out, and it just sits there. It could sit there for a long time. That's not at all what you want to see. You want to see, you want to jump in when it's going into expansion, so you don't sit time. You don't spend a lot of time just holding something, just doing nothing. And that's the most annoying thing and then you start looking at other things go. You got no money to buy it. And then you see other things that you would have ideally taken because it's a great little setup, but you can't because you're locked into something else that's doing nothing. So that's why we want to see a nice setup, and that's why we try to put together the pieces of the puzzle so we can ideally get it at the right time. And this probably it was a bit early, you're right, Anne-Marie. It was a bit early there with a push up through there, but still, if you haven't got in, you could be looking at this. So what I'm going to draw up here, that's that pullback, that spike up through. So if we do hold this level here, I like to see something like this, and then potentially you could get it through a bit of holding a high low on a daily basis, but it's also showing signs of starting to come out, and we're then starting to attack 590. So if you get this type of price structure just in here, that could be ideal. I mean, it could easily just go through there and to the bottom of that support zone around 540. So if I just draw that up a bit better. So that's your support zone there. We could easily just from here keep going low. We get washed out and then start to hold up. And then that could be a nice little entry on the bottom end. On a deeper correction, it could be really nice there. And then we start getting that move up through there. We've got our high low. We know it's holding the support zone here. We've got it at a good level. And then it starts pushing up back to attack 590. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. We could hold up here. Buyers may start to step in here, but I think it's right at that crux at the moment. We want to see, a green candle at least. I mean, not that it matters to us. The alert's actually active. if it gets washed out here. But like I said, we could get washed out, and this is the reason why you ideally probably nice, a dumb little entry, but I did like that cup and handle. I expected, and it did push higher initially. But what we could see here is if this doesn't hold up, it doesn't mean the trade's void, because you still got these major high lows, and it's done it before, washed out that low. Here, it could just wash out that low, come down here, hold a major high low around 540, between 540 and 50, and then go. Okay, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that. But it'd be nice if it can hold up above 550. I don't have to worry about looking at it again, but anyway. All right. Any other questions there, guys? Probably call it a day. AMI. AMI. I love this setup. Let's have a look at it then. AMI. Yeah, that's good. That's nice. You could get, what's the weekly? Okay, so the weekly bias is still down ideally, because your highest point, or your major lower high is around 40 to 42. But off a daily, that's great. Off the daily, that actually looks nice. Thanks, Paul. You can write goofy in there if you like. You can give me some criticism. Memory's a bit shot at the moment, especially on a Monday. That looks good. You know, a push up through 24 would expect you start attacking 27 and you keep going up. But then if that's the case, you get through 27, you might find that it just spikes up and builds a major lower high, potentially around 30, then rolls over. So you know you could be up against it on the weekly. So that weekly, the bias is down for me. And this is just contraction higher, potentially make a major lower high, or could just keep going up. We don't know. But the daily, if you got through 24 and it started stalling around 27, or spiked through it and then started stalling, you know your risk is going to be ideally below 21. So nothing wrong with that from the risk reward. You're not taking a lot of risk on it for the potential that it busts through 27 and starts heading higher. So that's a great one. BHP, let's do it. Last but not least, hey, Paul. Thanks for hanging in there anyway. You're very polite. So there's a few things here. Let's just go one step back. I know it's on a monthly chart. Let's just draw it up. We'll analyse this right from start to finish. I don't like that. Why do I keep doing that? Get rid of that. Good point, Wayne. Well, then you can do what you want, hey? Yeah, so that's I guess that's where you just sort of judge whether you want to buy it or not. Look at the volume. So we've had this big push up, double top through here. Push back. Okay, double top now. Major lower high. So at this stage, you get a bit concerned, especially when it got through here, and that led to a nice push lower, and you took out that low. So on a monthly, we could just be seeing this is a lower high. So that monthly chart doesn't look too healthy with that little, but it wasn't a strong move up and through, down and through, was it about 1850? That wasn't as strong. So that could just be a bit of a washout through, a major washout. Don't forget we're on a monthly chart. So, but every chart, you can sort of apply the same rules, the same theory behind each chart. So you've got a lower high here. Okay, that's led to a move down. We've got the move down, but we pulled up short and we started pushing back up once we got through that 18.5. So the most recent high or low. So really off that monthly chart, it could just contract a bit further. We might find that we put in a major high low around 20 to 21, and that means that's a great sign then. And then that get through 28, and that could be a nice sort of sign that we're going to start attacking to 41, but these highs up here on BHP. So okay, let's just step it. Let's just go down a chart. So on the weekly, on the monthly, we've got an idea of what potentially we could be looking at, and it is starting to roll. Stochastics are looking a bit weak. We're starting to get a bit of weakness in here. So just see what's happening on the most recent price action on the weekly. Okay, on the weekly is actually the opposite sign. That push down, if we just draw this, and this is I think I'm mentioning to Paul when we spoke about this, or I sent an email. I don't mind this here. It's actually a good little zone. It's, it's pushed down, and any sellers have been soaked up, and they've been soaked up quite high. So it's sort of, it's up against it on the boiling corn. God, I get distracted easy, guys. So sorry, I've got to stop reading the comments some days. So you can see that little pullback there. It's quite strong. You can see the strength of it on the stochastic is quite good. It's got to oversold, but it's getting soaked up. So on a weekly, that actually doesn't look too bad. So you can draw that up. So really, that's perked your interest. So for me, okay, we've got the monthly. We've got a good washout, potentially a good washout here. It's pushed back up. Maybe we're going to get some weakness in. The weekly's sort of saying something slightly different. But we still know that we're going to get, if the monthly's right, we could just pop back up to 26, 27, then roll over from there and build a lower high, and then go take out this low at 23, and then, okay, we're going to get a deeper correction. And we are going to get that monthly potentially playing out with buyers stepping in a deeper level or a lower level around 18, 19, 20, holding it up through that support zone, and then that's reject any more lows and then go on with it from there. So just looking at it here, so what you'd be looking at if you're wanting to trade this off a weekly basis is just looking what's happened recently. It's probably pretty much a good part of this year. So we're looking for this to be a continuation on the weekly side, a weekly high-low, and to take us up and through 28. So it is getting a bit extended on the upside. So there's a few factors sort of working against. Okay, monthly's down, weekly actually looks quite good. The daily, you're starting to get a bit extended, and your key level is just at 25. So if we draw that up, actually, let's just take it down a bit. So we've got the picture in our head now. Oh. Let's draw that. Now, where are we? This is what we want. So BHP. So what I'd ideally like to see is it just break out. So we know it's contracting lower. On the weekly, this is potentially a good level. And that structure looks good. It looks like an easy break up and through, but I'd want to get it through, push up through that little high. I think it's 21, was it 20, say? Push up through, and then a pullback. And then that's what we're talking about. We know that contraction is potentially coming to an end. The buyers are stepping in, and they're going to take it up and potentially through 28. So looking at that perspective, we know we're getting a bit extended on the upside. So there is buying stepping in quite strong, but the selling's a little bit stronger to hold it below this 25 zone. So that's, I guess, a few things just to keep in mind. You got, just by analysing the 3 different charts, you can get a picture in. So that way you can plan ahead. If you are going to buy it here, you know that you could pop up, you could be in profit, a good little handy profit here if it pushes up to 27, but then the weekly trend starts. It could just roll over on a weekly basis, and then the monthly trend takes hold, or the weekly trend's quite strong. We'll get a nice little entry on the daily. Maybe these stochastics head a bit lower. They hover around overbought or whatever it is, but we've got that pop up through 25, and then we get that push up, say through 25. We might get a little bit of contraction, hold a high low, and then go. And then you got your entry there. Okay, so this is this push up through 25, this leg up. We're going to break out of that little contraction on a daily basis, or even its weekly contraction. But what are we going to do from here? I'd either do, like I said, like to see it pop up, pull back, and then look for my entry. And then you go, okay, the daily trend. And then once we get this breakthrough here, it's confirmation, okay, that's going to kick on. And we could get something out of this trade and just see what happens from there. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you, Paul. No, corn's boiled. We'll probably call it quits there. It's been an hour and 10. So thank you very much for joining us, guys. Just finishing off my coffee. It's ice cold now. We'll be back on Thursday, and then I think it's public holiday Friday. So we'll just have a nice little chat on Thursday. So any charts you want to have a look at between now and then, just put them in the chat, or you can send through a chart if you want. I know Anne-Marie's done it a few times. Paul's done it a few times. If you've got some trades that you know that maybe didn't work out your way, yeah, feel free to send it through. If you don't mind me putting it up, you don't have to put a name to it. I don't care. But then if it's something that you can't quite figure out why you got stopped out, maybe you just want a bit of clarification, or you missed an entry, and it's something that worked out really well. Just you wanted clarification whether you actually did miss the entry, a potential entry setup, or it just wasn't there. And if it just wasn't there, so be it. You just move on. But yeah, feel free to send through chart a snapshot of anything at all, and then just send it through to support@tradesetup.com.au. Or if there's something, Paul sends it through, and I really appreciate it too. So me and Paul got a good little system going through. He sends through the charts, I forget all about it. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. We'll be back on Thursday at 12:30, and we'll have a good little chat then, and then we'll just go from there. Cheers, guys. Bye.